Hello everyone, we are going to be taking some notes over your new play, A Raisin in the Sun. Make sure that your notes are detailed, so feel free to pause whenever you need to. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to begin today by reading to you the poem Harlem by Langston Hughes. This poem can be found in the very beginning of A Raisin in the Sun, and it's the inspiration for the title. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? We're going to get to the poem in just a little while, but before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the author, Lorraine Hansberry. Her childhood. She was born on May 19, 1930. Her family lived in a black neighborhood on Chicago's South Side. Chicago at this time did not have legal segregation, but there was still widespread self-segregation, which meant that a community took it upon itself to segregate. There was no one making them, it was by choice. So, as a result, Chicago was divided sharply into white neighborhoods and black neighborhoods as a result of past segregation. Lorraine Hansberry's family life. The Hansberry family was one of the first black families to move into a white neighborhood. The Hansberrys faced threats, discrimination, hate, and even legal action when they tried to accomplish this. Hansberry's father brought their case, all the way to the Supreme Court. This Supreme Court case was called Hansberry versus Lee, and on November 13, 1940, it was stated that whites cannot bar African Americans from a neighborhood. This conflict actually mirrors itself in A Raisin in the Sun, and you'll find that Hansberry actually mirrors a lot of the things that happened in her life in her writing. A little bit about Lorraine Hansberry's writing style. It's often autobiographical in nature. As you can see from what we've already said, her very own family had to fight to live in a white neighborhood, just as our protagonist will have to in A Raisin in the Sun. She is credited with being one of the first black playwrights to create a realistic black character for the stage, or realistic black characters for the stage, excuse me. A Raisin in the Sun received the New York Drama Critics Circle Award for Best Play of the Year. Hansberry was the youngest playwright and the fifth woman and first black writer to win this award. Hansberry died at the very young age of 44 from cancer in 1965. So in the grand scheme of things, this is fairly recent. Comparatively to what it is you'll read for the rest of the year, this is actually a fairly modern play. A background for A Raisin in the Sun. So, cultural influence. It bridged the radical changes brought from the 1950s to the 1960s. African American theatrical roles were unusually small, comedic, and made up of stereotypes. A Raisin in the Sun featured three-dimensional, serious portrayals of black characters. So, as you can see, stereotypes. We've talked about this term when discussing Night. A stereotype is when you take a cliche or a generalization and you apply it to an entire race or ethnicity, religion, a group of people, and it cannot possibly be true. So we're applying this theme, this thematic parallel to A Raisin in the Sun. So African American theatrical roles were very stereotypical in nature. And so what Hansberry did is she's providing the theater with dimensional characters that also are African American. And so they're able to portray various roles and serious roles. It also brought up diverse issues. So it dealt with serious issues that were directly tied to the black experience of living in America, like poverty, discrimination, segregation, and racial identity. The black community. The play goes beyond the issues of black versus white. It's also very introspective. So we get an inside look at the Black community and how it views itself and how it should respond to the hostility. We also get to look at not just the Black community, but also certain women's issues, such as the female's role in the house and in society, such as working for a living versus staying in the home. The opposite of introspection would be, the opposite of being introspective would be extrospection, which would be looking on the outside, looking in, rather than being on the inside and actually getting an inside look at something. Literary focus. The publication was in 1959. The genre is realist drama. The setting for the time, 1945 to 1959, right before the civil rights movement hits its peak. Chicago. The protagonist, Walter Lee Younger, and the antagonist, rather than just one single person, are in fact issues. Poverty, segregation, racism, all of these things are what Walter Lee Younger and his family continues to struggle with. Literary terms. Allusion. The title of the play is an allusion to Langston Hughes' famous 1951 poem, Harlem, like we just read in the very beginning of the PowerPoint. Okay. Harlem was written 20 years after the Great Depression, and it focused on the phrase, a dream deferred, and asked readers to consider how long Black society would put up with having their dreams being put on hold. Dreams are described in the poem as withering up like a raisin in the sun. So it asks the question, are we supposed to accept only what is mediocre? Are we supposed to accept the best for you, for yourself, and your family? And that's what Walter Lee Younger asks himself. The quote on the left-hand side reads, "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly." And that's from Langston Hughes. Here's the poem again. This is how the play opens up. Why open with a poem? Just ask yourself that question. What tone does this set for the rest of the play? What is a dream deferred? Have you ever had a dream that you've had to put on hold, put on the back burner? Have you ever had certain hurdles that you have to get over before you can achieve your dream? Ask yourself those questions. Literary focus, the symbols, the house. The house symbolically represents the unit of the family, the unity of the family. They will not let overt or even subtle racism push them apart. Mama's plant. This is a plant that Mama owns rather than having a whole garden, and it is a symbol of her family and dreams. She takes very good care of the plant, so what does that say about how she cares for her family? The plant never gets enough light or water, but it nevertheless flourishes. During the play, Mama realizes that some members of her family are, quote, drying up, okay, while others, such as Walter, are about to explode, and she realizes that their dreams can be deferred no longer. They can't keep putting their dreams on the back burner. The literary focus or the setting. The play takes place in a segregated Chicago neighborhood in the late 1950s. The play occurs during the late 1940s or the 50s, a time when some racial questions were beginning to be raised, but before the civil rights movement of the 1960s. These particular issues that were the base for the civil rights movement were about to boil over. So tensions in metropolitan areas like Chicago were about to hit their breaking point. Literary focus, so some themes and conflicts. Value of dreams, dream deferred, racial discrimination, civil rights, the American dream, a woman's place in society, defiance and strength, as well as family. all various themes found and conflicts found in A Raisin in the Sun. So here is an overview of A Raisin in the Sun. It focuses on the Youngers, an African-American family living in Chicago during the 1950s. The Youngers are about to receive an insurance check for $10,000, okay? Now, if we type this into an inflation calendar real quick, it would be quite a large amount of money. So don't think of it as $10,000 today, okay? Each of the Youngers want to use the money for different purposes. Mama wants a house. Walter wants a liquor store. Benita wants to become a doctor. Mama eventually puts a down payment on a house for the entire family. The house that Mama buys is in Claiborne Park, which is an all-white area. And the white community reacts to the news of a black family moving by sending a representative to buy them off or to make them an offer so that they will not move in. The Youngers refuse the money and, despite obstacles, refuse to give in to this discrimination that they are facing. So they say, thanks, but no thanks. These stills from the film A Raisin in the Sun are from the 2008 version, which featured P. Diddy, or Sean Combs, as the male lead, as Walter Lee Younger. Okay, so it was a made-for-TV film. This is from the play version, in which Sean Combs actually did play Walter Younger as well. The protagonist of the play is Walter Younger. He's a dreamer who longs for a quick solution to the family's problems. His well-intended plans are often not well thought out as they need to be. He's into get-rich-quick schemes and a way to help his situation rather than immediately to help his situation rather than to wait and put effort and thought behind his plans. Lena, or Mama Younger, is the matriarch of the family. That means the female leader of the family, opposite of a patriarch. She is religious, moral, and maternal, which means she's motherly. Her dream is to buy a house with a backyard. Ruth Younger is Walter's wife. She has a very troubled marriage. She struggles with that. Poverty and domestic troubles, or her home life, have made her weary of Walter's dreams. So while she used to be very supportive, she's no longer supportive of her husband because of her troubled home life. Walter thinks that she is keeping him down. Benny, or Benita Younger, is Mama's daughter and Walter's sister. Remember, all of these people are living under the same roof, and they all have very strong personalities. She is an intellectual college student. She is well educated and more educated than the rest of her family. She dreams of becoming a doctor. Benny's tone can be very condescending at times, and this creates a lot of tension within the family. Then you have Travis Younger, who is Walter and Ruth's sheltered young son. He doesn't really get to do some of the things that he likes because he is taken care of very closely by all three women in the house. Travis's part is small, but he has a symbolic value as the hope for a new generation, so as hope for change. All right, guys, so I hope you liked your PowerPoint. I will see you in class.